You had seen this video before?
Yeah, we got a copy somewhere. It's been quite a few years since I've seen it.
So,
I'm sure it's VHS.
so you've seen it.
Good chance. Yes.
Uncle Howard's seen it.
Yeah.
Like, who else?
Not sure. I thought you knew maybe not all the details, but you knew that he did that.
Yeah.
And there is a different, and that basically was more of what we knew. We still don't know all the details what he saw. I mean, he mentioned some of it there. I'm sure there was a lot more. To me, the most interesting line of the whole thing was his statement of there are some things you can never erase from your mind. That really hit me. I've said to Mom a couple of times that I would love to have known him before the war. Because Grandma, I remember saying how he was a different man when he came back. I look at the picture I have of him in his baseball uniform, and I think, boy, I would love to have played ball with him. At that age, young kids playing ball and just talking, because I'm sure he was a different man than the one I knew.
Yeah.
So, I've said to Mom a few times, I would love to have known him back then. I mean, he was a guy who was involved in Young Judea. He was an athlete, wrestling at a really good wrestling college. He had a scholarship. Good baseball player. He was, sort of a all-around guy. Politically, athletically, everything. I would love to have known that guy. It wasn't something that you discuss. He was able to talk to survivor groups, Holocaust survivor groups, and relate to them the liberation. But that's more of a impersonal kind of telling of the story rather than to your own children. And I think that was easier for him. There was a train out there with the flatbeds and the bodies stacked up on it.
Yeah.
And he related a story that he had found someone alive. At one of the Holocaust survivor meetings, when he related that story, someone came up to me afterwards and said, that may have been me. Now, again, there was a number of people who did it. So just the fact that this guy did it and Dad found somebody doesn't mean it was that person. But here was someone who could make that connection to him. And he didn't mention that story in the video, but I remember him talking about that.
I'm sure for you too, like hearing Grandpa's voice again after so many years.
Yeah.
Learning these things that I was unaware of.
That's interesting because I guess, because I knew it before, so it didn't really hit me that way. It was a little different. 17, maybe 2010, right in there. And I remember watching the video then. I think it's the last time that I watched it. Take notes and follow then when we went to Dachau to see what was there. And it was pretty, close to what he was describing, where the railroad was coming into the camp, right by the houses. The houses were right next door, with the courtyard. Now the gallows were not up when we were there, but that was an area where there were some execution. He also, the other part of that is give you his memory. Grandma and Grandpa went to Italy probably sometime in the early 80s or late 70s. So this is 30 to 40 years later. And he drove out and found the farmhouse in which his troop was bivouacked. So his memory was that sharp that he could go back out there and just driving on his own find this farm. What was your biggest takeaway?
Some of it was just hearing about where he was and what he was doing. I knew his involvement with the Jewish Agency and with philosophers, but I guess how much that defined who he was even at that time.
Yeah, he was a big Zionist before the war. The Zionist organizations here, because that's really, I think, where Grandma and Grandpa met, was through the Zionist organizations.
When I grew up, there were people I knew who had numbers tattooed on their arms. I saw met those people, You know, I met people who were in Poland when it was taken over by the Russians, right? You know, things like that, who actually lived through those events. People who fled Germany as the Nazis are coming in. So they were very real to me that these people existed. Olivia, they're a history book.
Yes.
You know, and that's gonna, and that's it. I mean, it might as well be the World War I that she's talking about. There's that link that's gone. Yeah, and that's just the reality of history. And that's with any event.
There's so much focus right now on that part of Grandpa, and it was a part that he protected. So that, it's not the part that he shared.
It's interesting. Did he protect it, or could he just not let it out?
Uh-huh.
You know, I don't know which one that is.
The Grandpa that I knew was the guy who loved the White Sox, who was an umpire, who would take me to the game and I would get to watch it. He would wrap up a lox sandwich for me. I mean, that's who I knew.
Right.
And would go to the commissary and buy pallets of terrible orange juice.
And heat.
And heat for the car, yeah.
Can't forget the heat for the car.
So it's just interesting, to see a different perspective like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But you're the contact with him, so you've got, because obviously Olivia has, no idea who this man is. That's what it is. I mean, I barely knew my grandparents.
I really appreciate you talking about it, Dad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This was good.